Ladies and gentlemen, silent mic. Pro bodybuilder.
Alberto Nunez.
Alberto Nunez in the house. Omar, Isuf.
Hi.
Today, we want to talk a little bit about the shoulders. It's something that maybe some powerlifters neglect because in my personal experience and opinion, yes, you should work them, but a lot of people have built really big benches without direct shoulder work. But if you want to build a good physique with your training, which is our goal, he's a pro bodybuilder, goes in and out of things, so his goals go like this. But we always want to look good because we don't look that good. And we always want to be strong.
We want what we don't have.
Because we're not that strong.
Right.
So we kind of try to do both. He already looks fucking amazing, so he goes in and out of his deals. We do some overhead, him and I. We do some weightlifting. But what are some tips to get those fucking delts that fill out this shirt and make me look like I actually lift weights?
No.
I want people to accuse me of steroids. That's my goal.
The 3D delts, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why you're here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think for starters, like this joint, it's a wonderful thing, but it's this is where a lot of injuries happen. You know, right?
It's very mobile.
It's very mobile, and because of that, that's a small print that comes with that. So everything is going to hit your delt, I guess, with the exception isolation work, anyways, and even overhead stuff. Like it requires a lot of control of this area.
Yeah.
And that in itself is something that it's a skill, but people sometimes aren't as patient as they should be. I think especially when it comes to the bodybuilding specific exercises for the lateral head, the rear delt. Those are movements where I'd much prefer to the people stay in the higher rep ranges. That they learn to execute the movement over and over and over again before we actually start to get progressive with it, have it feel consistent. I think that's one thing that does happen often is that someone's like, I figured this lateral raise out. Next week, it's like it feels totally different.
Yeah.
I think you have to do those isolation movements if you want a certain look here. I was blessed with very good shoulders, but I've done it before where I've dropped off all that work for powerlifting reasons.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow,
Starts to disappear.
it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. I think shoulders are built with isolation movements and not necessarily pressing.
Yeah, that's kind of where the difference between bodybuilding and powerlifting do start to come into play. Because Omar and I, we like weightlifting, we like strength, we like functional fitness, although we hate that term. So we want to do standing overhead barbell press because that makes us feel manly. And you can
Makes me feel alive.
Man, I feel like a woman. And it makes you feel strong, powerful, and if something translates, I don't like that word either, I hate buzzwords, but if something translates to the bench or push press or the jerk, it would be that. But on the other end, we want to be healthy, and we want to progress for a long time, and we want to be fucking jacked. How do you balance, in a week of training, Omar, how many maybe presses do you do compared to maybe an ISO?
I don't balance it because I'm not jacked. But if I was to...
If you were to do things optimally and not be the YOLO that you are.
Yeah, so I do believe, as you're basically stating, there is that balance between performance, what you want to do or what's specific towards your goals. So weightlifting, powerlifting, and then when it comes to aesthetics, what you should be doing to bring up those legging areas. For me, what I find when it comes to deltoids is, at least the anterior deltoid, I do get a hell of a lot of volume from my overhead presses. I do get some minor stimulation when it comes to the posterior deltoid with just things like face pulls.
You just not say stimulation when there's three guys on a couch like
Look,
this?
I'm feeling just very stimulated right now.
What do you think we got the pillow
Two pillows and one guy's just ready to go. One guy's an eager beaver. So I again, minor work there, and then the side deltoid gets basically no love, and that's something I took away from both Alberto Nunez and then Dr. Mike Israetel, where he talks about doing more volume essentially for areas that don't get as much love and attention. So essentially, I would start with a hell of a lot of volume on the big movements, so on the overhead press, get a lot of work there, but then also really focus on those isolation movements later on in that session or perhaps in another session or just more directed towards weak links. So I try and focus on the big movements, get stronger with that via progressive overload, and then get a good amount of volume, so let's say a high volume approach when it comes to isolation movements for the side delts and then the posterior delt.
Berto, on that same topic, I guess, let's coach myself. If I'm doing a push press or maybe a jerk twice a week, and I'm doing a bench press twice a week, how would you layer in ISO or even more shoulder pushing into that week plan?
Yeah. Well, we'll start with the bench press. Like, you're a very good bench presser.
Yeah.
At this point, you've gotten really good at taking these out, or at least
Yeah.
having the shoulder not take over.
Trying to.
So that becomes an issue, right? Is like, as you get better at certain movements, you become more efficient, and your front delts aren't getting as much work from that. So bench press probably doesn't do too much for this head.
Yeah.
The overhead pressing, perhaps, but I still don't feel that it's going to give enough love to this over here, especially if it's with a barbell.
Yeah.
Right? Since you're kind of stuck out here.
Yeah.
And even then, like, this is not really what this does.
And with like a push press or anything, there's tricep, there's a little bit of leg drive,
Mhm.
there's other factors for this functional part of things.
Exactly. So what I would say is, first of all, like, those other movements, they progress quite rapidly. They're very easy to, not easy, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more clear. It's a lot easier to make progress on a bench press where, you know, you're bench pressing 350 pounds, right?
Yeah. You can undulate it. You can add two and a half.
2.5s, 5s, right?
Yeah, all
With
this
these,
stuff.
all this other stuff, all the isolation movements for the shoulder, I would say that just so that you're fresh and not structurally tore up from those movements,
Yeah.
I would probably keep them above 10 reps. And as a matter, I think even for older lifters, you know, older, not necessarily.
I just turned 29, bro.
If you've been training for 10 years, at that point you have some wear and tear.
Yeah.
And it's usually this stuff right here.
Used goods.
I am a fan of keeping it over 15 reps.
And just you're talking kind of a side lateral. I know you have a particular one, and that's why you're here. We filmed some particular exercises to not add more wear and tear, but still build muscle in an optimal way for Kaizen. I know you guys have been asking for the bulking hypertrophy program, so that's why he's here. We're just the dummies. He's following us. So we did build that program. It will be available soon. You can check the description. Hopefully it's there. Pre-order for you guys. Because you do go in detail on that exact exercise.
Yeah.
That's kind of,
Yeah.
we'll call it the Berto lateral.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of what you're talking about, the main isolation for that.
Yeah, and then your perspective on that, on your pressing, you're going to add more weight. Whereas, like, with this one, like, with isolation movements, I don't think there's anything wrong with subjective progress. You know,
So maybe even 3 weeks of 15s. If, say, I'm doing sets of 15.
and it can be the same way.
I was
but
going
it
to say
feels better.
with 15s, but it feels a little bit better. And then on that third week, maybe I'd make them sets of 16 even.
Exactly, just like that, just to keep it healthy, to keep tension where we want it, because it's very easy to use other body
Yeah.
parts, right? But yeah, take your time with those. That's, I think, the biggest difference. Take your time, learn how to move correctly here, because if you bang this up, it's not the
Yeah,
fun time.
yeah, it messes up your squat. It messes up everything. All right, so we're going to do a test here. This is either going to make the video if it works, and if it doesn't make the video, I'm going to cut it. On the count of 3, I want us all to say our favorite.
Who likes short shorts?
Our favorite shoulder health and rear delt movement.
Okay.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Face
pulls.
pulls. Yeah!